Hello everyone, this is Solomon of Solomonic Demons, and today we're going to be talking about why a lot of guitar companies are changing the production of their level entry guitars, mid-range guitars, and professional level guitars from either Korea, Indonesia, to Vietnam, India, or China. Now this video is not to talk crap about these countries that I just mentioned. This video is to talk about why these companies are changing the production to these countries, why it's important that these companies keep the same level of production, the same level of quality and craftsmanship to the models that are now manufactured in these countries, and why they gotta watch the mistakes that some companies did in the past already when they changed the production of guitars, especially to India. So grab a beer, get high, or get some coffee, and let's talk about this. Alright, so let's start with why I want to talk about this topic. Well, a couple of days ago I went to my local guitar center. I know the manager of that guitar center for a while. You know, I have tried a couple of amplifiers in the past. I have bought a lot of stuff from that guitar center, and I developed a kind of business relationship with this manager. He knows who I am when I go to store. We talk about year. I tell him what I'm interested in getting, what I'm interested to let go out, and that kind of stuff. When I went to trade these two guitars, he was checking the price. I was checking guitars. You know, I was checking the new amps that they have in store. And I started seeing that a lot of guitars that I was playing, they were either made on Vietnam. And I knew that before those guitars were either made in Korea or Indonesia. Now they were made on Vietnam or India. And I'm not talking about one brand in particular. I'm talking about LTD. I'm talking about LTD, Chapman, Dean, Michael Kelly guitars, and a few more. That's the one that I spot in store. I also saw that there were a couple of Kramers PCR series, to be specific, the level entry of them, and those were made on Indonesia before, and now the guitars are made on China. All of the same models of these guitars had the same price, or they either were more expensive than when they were made in Indonesia, but the guitars felt really poor. These Kramers were maple neck, and the maple was dry, frets were sticking out. Those guitars really felt bad. You know, the Jackson signature of Goose G is over $1,000, and it is made on China. Same thing with the new Jackson signatures of Marty Freeman, the ones that have the sparkling colors. These guitars are above $1,000. Guitars don't come with a case. They feel really bad. You know, I was really feeling bad because two guitars that I were trading in were Japanese made guitars, and they felt totally better. And these guitars are also entry-level or mid-range guitars, because those guitars were my Fender HM Stratocaster and my Greco Supreme Buster. I know that Gibson owns Kramer, and that Gibson have Epiphone, and there is actually a factory of Epiphone on China, and I guess that they are the ones that are building these guitars. And I'm saying guessing because a lot of the guitars that Epiphone made are set neck guitars, and almost all Kramers are a bolt on. That's why I'm saying that I'm guessing, because I don't know if Epiphone have the machinery to make bolt on guitars in China. I'm just guessing. I don't know if Kramer is hiring ghost builders to make these guitars, and because for me that's the problem. These companies are hiring new builders, new companies to make their guitars, you know, for cheaper. It seems that they are just giving their specifications that they have of the guitars to ghost builders. They are doing a minimum quality control on these guitars, and they are not over inspecting these guitars and putting them in the stores like that. Now a lot of people are gonna say, hey, what is the problem? You know, Indonesia guitars are also Indonesian guitars are not the most famous for quality control, but this is not the early 2000s anymore. The guitars that are made on Indonesia that were actually a gamble, they used to have the same quality of Vietnam or India guitars made right now, because most of them were new companies. This is not the 90s for Korean made guitars, and you know, Korean and Indonesia made guitars these days are at the same range in quality that most of the guitars that are made in USA or Japan. They have the technology, they have the culture to make guitars. Talking about the builders like Cortec in Indonesia or World Music Inc. Corporation in Korea. And I'm saying these two companies because LTD, ESP, Jackson, Dean, and many more have either produced or made guitars with these builders. because neither of these companies has have actually a factory of these countries. They all use ghost builders, you know. Now I remember what Ola England did a couple of years when he started his company of solar guitars. He in person went to inspect all the first batches of the solar guitars, and I think that right now he have somebody inspecting these guitars. And I think that what Ola England was doing, at least at the beginning, was really cool because he was inspecting his guitars. He had somebody in charge of the inspection of these guitars. And I think that Chapman was doing the same thing. He had somebody inspecting the guitars in the same inspecting high, inspecting higher to inspect, higher to do the quality control. And I mean, when he had somebody, I mean a foreigner, a foreigner, somebody that he usually knows, somebody that was hired and sent to that country to inspect that guitar, not somebody that actually works in the factory, you know? That's for the small companies. They were doing that, and Chapman, like I said, Solar at the beginning were keeping their quality. I'm saying at the beginning because after COVID, we saw because after COVID we saw that solars were cracking up, and even if Rob Chapman or Ola England didn't talk about these kind of problems on their videos, we know that they had issues keeping the quality techs in that countries because the COVID restriction. But COVID passed already. We are in 2023, and now we see Chapman guitars made in Vietnam. And I don't know if Solar are gonna start making guitars in Vietnam or India, but I'm just saying. Chapman already is making guitars in Vietnam. The question is, does Chapman have somebody inspecting those guitars in Vietnam? Those ESP, those LTD, those Dean, those Jackson have those guitars. Do they do somebody from their team inspecting these guitars that are made by ghost builders in these countries? Or they are just bringing the guitars here and putting them in stores? That's the problem. We have the ghost builder putting a QC sticker here, or we have an actually employee by LTD, by ESP, putting that quality control sticker on the guitars. So that's what I was referring when I was saying that what companies gotta make. They gotta send somebody to these countries, and if it's a company like ESP, like LTD, one guy is not enough. They sell a lot of level entry guitars. They have more money, they make more guitars, but so they can hire more people and send more people to these countries. But the way that I'm seeing is that they are just putting the guitars on the stores like with a QC sticker from the manufacturer. They just want to go cheap and keep the same profit, and that's wrong. So this was Solomon of Solomonic Demons. Hope everybody liked this video. Please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much.